Many years ago, I was at a retreat with some brother priests, and at one point during this week of prayer and conferences, the retreat master, who I believe was a Cistercian priest, asked all of us, how many of you have had people walk out angrily from your sermons? And none of us stood up or raised our hand. And he said, you're doing something wrong. Now, I'm not encouraging any of you to get up right now. That would kind of hurt my feelings. But nevertheless, that question has always stuck with me. Now, to be sure, I've never had anybody storm out after one of my masses. I've had people get very angry, though, be very offended by some of the things that I have said. And that's never easy to hear. No one likes to be yelled at in the face and be called a bad priest and all these sorts of things. And unfortunately, that's happened to just about every priest that I've known. At some point, you're going to offend somebody because anything worth saying is going to spark disagreement. But it is hard. It is really hard after a beautiful Sunday sermon to somebody yell in your face. And I'm always tempted sometimes when I have challenging gospel passages, I'm gonna preach on something easy. I'm just going to say God loves you or something like that, and then go home. Because it is an easy way out. It's the path of least resistance. It is a temptation that all priests, all ministers of the word face. And that's why it's so important to have these passages that we just heard from Timothy. I love this passage. I draw a lot of comfort from it. You have an older priest, Paul, talking to a younger guy, Timothy, who he ordained. And ministry isn't what Timothy thought it was going to be. He's gotten a lot of bumps on the road. He's faced a lot of opposition, and he is discouraged. And you can tell he's looking for the easy way out. So the summary of this passage is Paul telling Timothy, be a man. Remember, when I ordained you, I didn't ordain you for the easy path. I gave you the gift of the Spirit. I encourage you with words to precisely say what people need to hear. Maybe not what they want to hear. Maybe that which is not pleasant. But sometimes the most important saving words we hear are hard to digest. And they may initially face opposition. But so it goes. Not everybody accepted Jesus' words. He was crucified, so obviously he ran up against some opposition. Paul is writing from prison. He's not asking Timothy to do anything that he is not willing to do. And we know from tradition that Paul will eventually be executed for saying hard words. But he's saying, Timothy, this is what we signed up for. We came to preach a word of truth, not necessarily a word of comfort. We came to give a saving word, not an easy word. Nobody ever storms out of the sermon of a false prophet. He's not interested in the truth. He is not interested in salvation. He wants attention to himself. He wants the praise of others. And that's a dangerous place to be. And I think these words apply to each and every one of us. We've all, by virtue of our baptism, been ordained, in a way, to the ministry of the Word through testimony. We all, too, must bear witness to a word which is not easy to hear in a world that really doesn't want to hear it. But nevertheless, that's the responsibility we have as Christians. I get it. I have family members and friends who are not Catholic. And it's easy, once again, let's not engage in controversy. Let's just have a nice conversation. Let's avoid those topics which may be hard and maybe generate controversy. But that runs the risk of saying absolutely nothing. I'm also reminded of the words of St. Teresa of Calcutta, that sometimes we're faced with this challenge. Maybe my words will not be received. Maybe I will not be successful. But she reminds us the Lord does not call us to success, but to fidelity. And maybe it'll be small results in this life. Maybe we won't even see the impact we're having. But as Jesus tells us, faith is like a mustard seed. It is small, almost imperceptible to sight. And if we're at least willing to plant that seed, sometimes in very rocky soil, we do have the chance of a flourishing bush. But without that willingness to face opposition, resistance, without planting that seed, nothing grows.